Hey, everybody, welcome to Pep Talk, where we dive deep into performance enhancing physiology, peptide therapy, and groundbreaking health innovations. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Nepute. I'm excited to be with you today. I'm excited to go on this journey towards health and wellness, revolutionizing and reimagining healthcare, redefining what it means to be healthy and care, and putting health and care back into healthcare, which is really kind of a crazy thing in today's world. So let's get ready. Let's get started. I'm going to dig in. Today's half hour to health topic is about stress management and mental health. Folks, I don't know if you know this, but since the pandemic, it's been reported that we now have an increase in mental health issues by a minimum of 35%. We're talking about anxiety, depression, insomnia. We're talking about people not being able to handle their stress. What I want to share with you today are some simple, common sense solutions to a very common problem that we have in the world today, which is stress. And I'll tell you that most doctors will say, inflammation is the root of all disease. Well, I'm going to tell you that most inflammation is caused by stress. You see, most people don't really know what stress is. So before we talk about how to fix it and action steps that you can do in your daily routine to help yourself, let's define what stress is. Stress is when your body's out of balance. When it's out of balance for a prolonged period of time, that's when we start to have symptoms, sicknesses, and ultimately diseases. So let's go through this process. There's something that every doctor learned while they were going through their doctor training, just like myself. When I became a physician, I learned about something called the triad of health. Visualize a triangle. The triad of health is a three-sided object, obviously a triangle with equal sides. And all of those sides together equals 100%. Well, if you divide each side into 33.3%, one side of the triangle is your physical health. Another side of the triangle is your chemical health. The third side of the triangle is your neuroemotional aspect of health. And all of those combined make up you as a whole of your health. And if your body's out of balance one way or the other, you have too much physical stress, too much chemical stress, or too much neuro or emotional stress, that leads our body to be out of a state of what's called ease. EASE is the state of balance. You ever hear people say that, man, I'm at a state of ease. It makes you feel like, I'm just relaxed. Well, when you're out of balance, that's called dis-ease, dis-ease. And when you stay out of balance long enough, what happens is you get something called adaptive physiology, and your body adapts to that stressor, whether it's physical, chemical, or neuroemotional, and it causes symptoms. And those symptoms are nothing more than your check engine light going off in your car telling you there's a problem. So it makes no sense to take a bunch of pills or potions or lotions for the stress that you have. What makes sense is, number one, identifying the root cause of your stress through precision testing, and then treating the root cause of the problem through precision therapeutics, lifestyle change, and so much more. So I made some notes today that I want to go over with all of you to help you understand more about what stress is and to help you deal with stress in your daily life. Now, I know what many of you are thinking. Doc, I've been under stress my whole life, and the more stress I'm under, I just get used to it. I live my life, and I'm going to be stressed out until I die, right? Well, that is not true. We're supposed to have life and have life more abundantly. Trust me, I know. I used to be one of those guys that was stressed out all the time because I didn't know any better. I wasn't educated on what stress is, and I didn't know how to help overcome it. And many folks say to me all the time, Doc, you've got your businesses, you've got your family, you've got your life, all the travel that you do, all the things. How do you handle all of that stress? I don't know how you keep up with it. Well, I'm going to share with you today on this Pep Talk podcast of exactly how I manage stress. I'm going to teach you some things that you can do to help yourself. I think it's really important that folks know this, and I want to say this one more time. Since the pandemic, we've seen a 35% increase in all stresses across the board, even stress in children. And this is not okay. And by the way, stress really is a mindset. And you guys remember the song from the 1990s when we talked about, stressing out over something to solve the problem is kind of like trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubblegum. It doesn't do anything. And I'm going to tell you, most of the stress that you put yourself under is self-inflicted. And the problems, well, to be honest with you, are not that big of a deal. And every single time when you thought you weren't going to make it through a situation, or you thought, oh my gosh, I'm surely going to die, it's so stressful, you've survived that 100%. And so let's dig into stress a little bit more. I told you about the three types of stress. So let's break those down a little bit. So the first type of stress is a physical type of stress. Well, let me give you some examples of physical stress. Physical stress is our accidents, injuries, falls, sports injuries, things of that nature. But did you know that there are other physical injuries that people deal with every day, like repetitive stresses? Maybe you sit all day long and your body's stressed out from being in that physical posture. Maybe you work at a factory and you're doing the same repetitive motion every day. Or maybe your job is labor intensive and you're picking up, carrying heavy things, and you're constantly causing those physical stresses to manifest in your body. There are other kinds of physical stresses. You could have too big of muscles, right? That your body doesn't have good range of motion, or you could have too small of muscles to where your body doesn't have the right mechanics to move the joints and to have enough energy. Yeah, muscles make energy. Maybe you also have physical problems where you're too overweight or you're too thin. Yeah, you can actually be too thin, causing physical problems. And definitely we know that obesity is a massive contributor to physical problems, stresses, and dysfunction. You know that every 1 pound that you're overweight can add 4 pounds of pressure to your joint. So if you're 20 pounds or 100 pounds over your ideal body weight, that's going to be problematic for your joints. So that's physical imbalances. What about chemical imbalances? Look, we live in a world where there are thousands of chemicals in our food supply, in the air we breathe, in the water we drink, in the things that we wash our clothes with. I mean, we cannot avoid living in a toxic world. We can do the best we can to mitigate those toxins and then to detoxify our body or purge our body from those. And our body is set up to do that. We have detoxification pathways that our body is set up to purge itself and clean itself out. But you have to know how to tap into those. And we will teach you more about those on detoxification, pep talks, and etc. But really, if you break down the chemical stress, it's real simple. Your body is either toxic or deficient in a chemical, right? Toxic or deficient. You either have too many things in your body or you don't have enough of them. Vitamins, minerals, nutrients, hormones, all these things, stem cells, peptides, exosomes, microbiotics, all those things are essential to have a balance. And if we don't, that's going to cause an imbalance, which is going to lead to things like inflammatory conditions. You see, inflammation isn't the problem. It's the cause of the inflammation that's the problem. So we have all those physical issues and or chemical issues. How do we measure those? Well, my gosh, doing simple genetic testing and doing simple blood testing and saliva tests and stool samples, all these things can tell us so much about you, the individual, and your stress may be caused by that. And if we can get that stress under control, everything else follows suit. And then the third type of stress is neuroemotional. This is the one when I say, raise your hand in a crowded room, who in here knows about stress? They raise their hand. And when I say, give me an example of that stress, they say, oh, my husband, my wife, my kids, my spouse, my work, my whatever, the politics of the world, whatever's going on, TV, radio, all these things are stressors. But the reality of it is that neuroemotional stresses, overstimuli, and maybe even understimuli can also lead to a lot of problems. And when you have an imbalance, physically, chemically, or neurologically, it's like the Three Stooges, Larry, Moe, and Curly. You can't have one without the other. How many of you, let me ask you a question. How many of you listening right now have ever been emotionally stressed out and it physically caused pain in your life? Where does it hurt? Like when I'm stressed out, my jaw bothers me, my back gets sore, my left knee hurts. Those are all areas where I have my weakest links, if you will, in my system. So I need you to understand that everything is all interconnected. All right. So we've got that going on. And then you have to also understand that there are many, many things that you can do to de-stress yourself. Many things you can do to balance out that physical, chemical, and emotional stress. Because how many of you have been ever, let's just say you went out and maybe overindulged in a meal. You ate so much that you felt bloated and sick, and you might even woke up the next morning and your rings wouldn't come off, or your joints were swollen, and you took your shoes and socks off and you had a ring around where your sock was at. You have water retention because you chemically are out of balance. It's causing physical issues in the body. And how many of you have maybe ever experienced a time where you had too many libations, maybe you had too much wine or too much beer or whatever, and you woke up the next morning and you were hungover? Well, that's a physical manifestation of chemical imbalances. And by the way, when you're physically in pain all the time, that's going to cause inflammatory responses. That's going to cause hormone function to go down. That's going to cause your body to not be able to produce enough hormones to help you feel full. That's why when you're in pain, you eat more and you get less quality of sleep. So when you're physically out of balance, it affects your chemistry and your neurology. When you're emotionally out of balance, it affects your chemistry and your physical well-being, and vice versa. They all affect each other. So my question to you is, if physical, chemical, and emotional stress are the root causes of your problems you have, my question to you is, why are you not measuring your physical, chemical, and neuroemotional stresses? I mean, think about that for a minute. So let's talk about, how do we measure those things? Let's start with the physical assessment. There are things that you can do right now at home without having to go see a healthcare practitioner that you can tell to see if you have physical stresses in your body. Here's one thing you can do right now. Go stand in front of a mirror. Ideally, take your shirt off. Women, you can keep your bra on. Guys, just go shirtless. But look at yourself in the mirror. Just close your eyes, stand straight up and down, kind of march in place, and then just relax and open your eyes. And take a look and look at your body. Is your head tilted one way or the other? Is it rotated? Is one shoulder higher than the other? When your arms are down at your side, is one internally rotated? Is the other one externally rotated? Look at your hips. Is one hip higher than the other? Does one leg toe out? And people say, oh, that's just how God made me. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. You can look at your posture. The posture is the window into the alignment of the body. It's the window into how your structure and your physical alignment is. Here are some other things. Can you, from a standing position, can you bend down and touch your toes without bending your knees? If you can do that, that's a good sign that you have physical balance in your body. If you cannot, that's a problem, and you should work towards improving that. This is another big one. This is actually one that has been studied in the longevity studies and has also been shown to be something that is a real overall arcing evidence of how well your physical health is. Can you, from a sitting position, stand up with ease? What do I mean by that? Can you, as long as you don't need a cane or a walker or somebody to help you up, can you go from sitting on the floor to standing in a relatively easy manner? If you can, that's another good sign that your physical body is in alignment. And have somebody, or maybe yourself, take a picture, get your cell phone out. All you folks and all of us are used to doing selfies all the time. Turn from the side and take a selfie of your body, or stand laterally in the mirror and take a picture of your profile. Is your head leaning forward? Do you look like you're going off a ski slope? Or can you drop a line from your ear, through your shoulder, through your hip, through your knee, through your ankle to the ground? You should have a nice linear plumb line. If you're forward or backwards, those are signs of stresses in the body. So there are so many things that you can do to measure your body physically. You can also go and see if you can do certain physical tests. Like, you should be able to do at least 2 or 3 push-ups. You should be able to do at least a plank for 20 to 30 seconds. You should be able to do at least 1 or 2 pull-ups. If you can't, and by the way, those of you that say, well, my age is a problem, there are 70 and 80-year-old men and women who can do all those things with ease. You can do those too. Your body's just out of balance. Those are things that you can strive towards. There are many other tests that you can do physically in your body to see what your health is. There are things as simple as going and getting x-rays done. Like, here's a great x-ray that you should do. Did you know that there's something called the arc of life? Your neck, when I look at the lateral x-ray of the cervical spine, you should have somewhat of a banana curve in your neck. About a 35 to 40 degree curve is ideal. And why is that important? Well, inside your spinal column is your spinal cord. Inside that area is cerebral spinal fluid. That's the nutrition that goes from your body into your brain and gives your brain and body the nutrients that it needs to function and work like it's supposed to. It goes up one side, back around the brain, down and out the other side. And if your neck is flattened out and you've lost the curve, it narrows down that tube, and it kind of like kinks off, like a garden hose kinking off to water your garden. Well, if I've kinked my hose off, I'm not going to get water to my garden like I'm supposed to. Did you know that Dr. Fred Barge and many other researchers have discovered and found that if you lose that curvature in life, that you actually have an increased risk of neuroimmune problems, cardiovascular issues, COPD, and yes, even things like cancer. So your physical well-being has a lot to do with everything else in your body. There was a recent study that was put out several years ago that shows that loss of the alignment of the upper cervical curve can actually be one of the major contributing factors to increase blood pressure and hypertension. Let me ask you a question. How many blood pressure pills will you have to take if the cause of your blood pressure is loss of curve to fix it? That's a rhetorical question. That means you have a physical problem causing that chemical imbalance in your body. What about chemical tests? What kind of chemical test should you do? Well, here's a really great test that everybody can do. It's called the spit test. This is so simple. Write this down and remember this. First thing in the morning, before you brush your teeth, before you eat your breakfast, before you do anything, what I would encourage you to do is go and get a clear glass of water. Get a clear glass that you can see through. Fill it up almost to the top with water. And I want you to spit into that water, that glass. I don't need a big goober. I just need saliva spit. And let it sit for about 15 minutes. And come back and look at it 15 minutes later. Look at it from the top down and look at it from the side. If your spit is still floating at the top, all good. If your spit is starting to streak or it sinks down to the bottom, no bueno. That means that you most likely have a condition of leaky gut syndrome or dysbiosis or some type of abnormal bacteria overgrowth in the body. That's a serious issue. Your spit should stay floating at the top. It's clean, healthy spit. I mean, that's a simple test you can do at the convenience of your home, and it costs you $0 to do. Well, what's another test that you can do? Well, there are blood tests that are out there. We call them wellness panels, where you can actually measure the levels of your vitamins, your minerals. We can look at things like hormones, the inflammatory markers of your body. We can do a comprehensive metabolic to look at the function of the organ systems in your body as well. We can look at things like heavy metal toxins. We can look and see if there's candida and parasites, fungus, or yeast overgrowth through simple blood tests. And we can also measure the blood in the body to see if you have certain what we call primitive viral infections, things like cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr virus, and aspergillus. These are funguses and other types of viruses that can lead to some serious problems if you don't know that you have them and you aren't doing the right things to correct them in the first place. So what else do we look at? We also look at stool samples, doing a simple stool sample to measure the amount of healthy microbes in your GI tract versus the bad microbes in your GI tract. Look, even Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said first fix the gut and all things will manifest from that. If you have the balance of the GI tract and the gut, study after study after study has shown that it reduces the effects of stress on your body. Your body has a better ability to adapt to those stresses. And that's what health really is. It's not the presence of these stresses, it's the body's ability to adapt to those stresses. That's what I really need you to take home from this. How's your body adapting? And I'm going to give you some things that you can do to help improve your adaptation along the way. You guys know I'm also a huge fan of doing a cheek swab, a buccal swab genetic test. We recommend it's called a global array genetic test. It looks at 800,000 different SNPs. Let me say that again, 800,000. Stop wasting your money on these SNPs that look at 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 different things. You want to measure as much as you can measure. And we know that there are over 250 SNPs that when we find are out of balance, which by the way, a SNP is a measurement of a code in your gene. And we're looking at clean genes versus dirty genes. And the more dirty genes you have, the more we have to adapt your lifestyle to those genes. By the way, in the genetic world, we say that your genetics load your gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. So wouldn't it be amazing to know from a genetic standpoint, which is a one and done test, everybody on the planet should have this test done to find out how you should sleep, how you should eat, what exercise are best for you, what frequency of exercise, what type of diet plan is best for you. Should you be keto, carnivore, is vegetarian good for you? I mean, all these things can be really looked at under, no pun intended, a microscope from these genetic profiles. And we can also determine the risk factors that you have for certain neuromusculoskeletal injuries, and we can determine your biological versus your chronological age. So many things that you can know with advanced precision testing today to help your body understand what lifestyle changes that you need to make to adapt to the stresses of your environment. I hope that makes sense. Well, what about the neuroemotional component? What can we do from that? Well, one of my favorite tests that we offer is something called a heart rate variability test. You see, I like to talk about the brain in two components. One component of the brain is your gas pedal. That's your fight or flight response. That's your go, go, go. Everybody's heard of this response before, and you felt it. When you get excited or you get under stress, you get an increased heart rate. Your brain starts racing. Your body gets a little shaky and jittery. It's ready to run. It's fight or flight. Well, what happens is when the fight or flight response goes up, the other part of your brain that I call the brake pedal, it's known as the parasympathetic nervous system. It allows you to rest, relax, grow, develop, and heal. It goes down. And so when we're under stress, because our heart rate goes up, we're going to have increased blood pressure. We might have AFib or tachycardia because of that. Because of the fact that it doesn't allow our body to rest and relax, we're going to have anxiety, we're going to have stress, we're going to have insomnia. We might even have focus and concentration issues, which can be called ADD and ADHD. There are so many symptoms that happen because the brain is emotionally out of balance. When this part of the brain goes down, that part helps the body digest food. So you're going to get upset stomach, indigestion, diarrhea, heartburn, constipation, all because of the lack of adapting to that stress. The part of the brain that allows you to relax, the parasympathetic, also controls your immune system. So you can be more prone to sickness, infections, flus, colds, bugs, sinuses, all because of that. And yes, even food sensitivities and allergies can come from the imbalance of sympathetic and parasympathetic activity in the brain. It's really important that you understand these things because I need you to understand that self-care is the new healthcare. Let me say that again. Self-care is the new healthcare. The more you take care of yourself, the better you're going to have care and the more you're going to have health. Period. It's up to you. It's up to we to understand this. Our job is to help you on in our podcast journey to help you go down that pathway of understanding that you do have the resources, you do have the ability, and yes, you have the responsibility to help recognize where your stress comes from and how to overcome it. So what do we do? I'm going to give you some things that can be done. I made a list here of some simple action steps that you can do to help balance out your body. Let's start with physical health improvement 101. Ladies and gentlemen, our body is made for movement. We are a movement-designed organism. Did you know that there was a gentleman by the name of Roger Bannister who won a Nobel Prize? I always get Roger Bannister and Roger Sperry confused. One of them ran the first 4-minute mile. The other discovered that movement is the number one nutrient for your brain. Well, we know that moving the body, not only is it the number one nutrient for the brain to make you think better, to balance out your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system I explained before, but it also, movement increases ATP production in the body, which is energy. So many people say that they're fatigued all the time, but they're not using their organs that are necessary, which is the muscle systems, to improve your energy. So go for a walk. Did you know that going for a walk after you eat a meal, literally a 15-minute walk, can lower your blood sugar, sometimes by up to 30 points? That's huge by itself. Excuse me. Did you know also that going for a walk first thing in the morning or doing 15 minutes of some deep breathing exercises or even just doing some simple calisthenics first thing in the morning can improve brain function, can improve the neurotransmitter production from your gut to your brain, making us feel happier and more euphoric and more of a joyous outcome for the day? And researchers have told us that if we start working out within the first 2 hours of waking up in the morning, that we actually can have a more productive and beneficial day with less stress, less worry, and more abundance. But you didn't know that. What about just doing some simple stretching? There are some simple stretching routines. You can find a lot of these on our website of simple activities that you can do for yourself. Or you can do a simple YouTube search of a simple 15 to 20 minute full body stretching regimen. You start putting that into your life, it's a game changer. But what are some other things physically that you could do? Man, our bodies are made to push weights. By the way, there's a genetic test that you can do that finds out if you have more what are called fast twitch versus slow twitch muscle fibers. Fast twitch means that your body is going to be more prone to pushing heavy weights and, doing HIIT training or playing basketball or more high intensity type of exercise with low rest between. If you're slow twitch fibers, then your body's going to be more geared towards slower, long-term endurance type exercises. And many of you probably through trial and error know where you're at on that. But if your body, let's say, is needing explosive exercise and you do long, slow training, that actually can cause more detriment than help to your body, and vice versa. There are some exercises that actually can cause an increase in blood sugar levels in people because they're doing the wrong exercises for themselves. I love also getting massage and body work. I try to go once a week and either get a massage, or I like to go and get my body stretched out. I go to these places and I have some at my own doctor's facilities where I'll have a therapist that'll stretch my body out for 30, 45, or up to 60 minutes just to get my body elongated and get it moving again. And I'm also, you guys know, one of my degrees is I'm a doctor of chiropractic as well as a doctor of natural medicine. And you know that I love getting chiropractic adjustments to my spine because we know that if your joints are moving properly, then your nerves can work better. If your nerves work better, your organs work better. And so do the muscles and joints that are controlled by those nerves. So those are some simple things that you can start doing right now, just from a physical standpoint. Number two, from a chemical standpoint, what are things that you can do from a chemical standpoint? Here is a short list. Number one, let's get hydrated. Did you know that first thing in the morning, research has shown if you'll get up in the morning and you'll get a nice big 8 to 12 ounce glass of good, clean, filtered water and take a good solid pinch of some healthy organic sea salt, whether it's pink Himalayan, gray Celtic, Baja Gold, some type of clean organic salt that has 70 to 80 different minerals in it, put it in that water, take a squeeze of lemon or a squeeze of key lime, drink that down. That's going to give you the hydration to start your morning off. That's going to give you the electrolytes you need to have brain function and energy. And that's going to set the tone for the day to give you those minerals to keep you happy, healthy, and abundant throughout the day. Doing that at least 2 to 3 times throughout the day is a game changer for folks. During the day, I'm a huge fan, you guys know, about eating for your body type. So understanding what your body type is and how to eat for your body type. And we have other podcasts that we've done on body types, how to eat for body types and etc. But I will tell you that avoiding the standard American diet, the SAD diet, which is full of glyphosates and other chemicals and processed foods and lots of sugars and high fructose corn syrups and really a lot of things that you can't even pronounce on the label, those are going to cause problems and turn down your health and become major stressors. So avoid those foods. Instead of eating all the time, try to do a little intermittent fasting. Have 2 meals a day, eat within a 6 to 8 hour window. We need a high keto type diet. Most people could do really well with a keto diet. I even like doing keto, what I call keto plus, where we're adding even more protein. One of the things that I'd recommend all of you do is to take your ideal body weight, which may not be your body weight. You may be a 250-pound person, but ideally you're supposed to be about 180. You should have 180 grams of protein throughout the course of a day. And research has also found that if you get 30 to 40 grams of protein first thing in the morning, that can set the tone for your day as well. So that's a huge, powerful thing. So the hydration, changing up the diet a little bit, making sure that you're getting that protein in your system, and then taking the proper supplements that you should have. Now, I'm all about testing, not guessing, but there are 4 core supplements that I found in my 2 decades plus of seeing literally hundreds of thousands of blood results that people are deficient in. Number 1 is magnesium. And here's how you dose magnesium for yourself. By the way, I'm a big fan. I know there's different types of magnesiums. I like magnesium glycinate. I think it's kind of one of the best just general magnesiums that are out there, and it's easily absorbable and it's relatively inexpensive. Take your body weight, take that number times 10.6 and divide that number by 2.5. That's approximately how many milligrams of magnesium supplementation you should have per day in addition to the food you eat. So magnesium is number 1. Number 2, I think every man, woman, and child should be on a probiotic that has what are called master microbes in it. Master microbes are a very specific type of bacteria that are a little bit more specific and a little bit more resilient, that are spore-based. 99.9% of probiotics that are on the market, they just don't work. They just don't work at all, okay? So what I'll tell you is, Joe, I'm just going to let you know, you can maybe take a pause here, but it says that movie recording stopped. Okay, I'm just going to stop for a minute. It might not be stopped. I just want to make sure that. Okay, maybe the battery's full or something. Okay. All right. So I'll just pick up from where I left off. Okay. So we'll just have to let JD and Megan or know that there was yeah. Okay. So we're good. Okay. At 29:30 into this recording, around that time, there was about a maybe 2-minute delay. So we're going to start back up in 3, 2. Okay. So number one, if you remember, magnesium. Okay. Number two is probiotic, but master microbes are super important. I like to take the master microbes and the magnesium both at bedtime. I believe that every man, woman, and child should have a multi-methylated B vitamin taken first thing in the morning. A multi-methylated B vitamin. It has to be methylcobalamin, and it has to have L-methylfolic acid or L-methylfolate. We need that in there, the methylated form of it, so the body can absorb it. And then the fourth thing that everybody should be on is a digestive enzyme. Taking a digestive enzyme that's a plant-based digestive enzyme taken with your meals will help your body digest your foods. Why is that important? Because once we get over the age of 30, we lose about 70 to 90% of the production of enzymes in our body. That's part of our digestive process. So there's some of the things that you can do from a chemical standpoint that are really simple and easy. And then what about a neuroemotional standpoint? Well, first of all, there's all kinds of amazing technologies that are out there. We like to use certain technologies like brain tap technologies and neurofeedback and biofeedback. But if you don't want to invest in those technologies, what can you simply do? You can literally practice some mindfulness. What is mindfulness? It's just being aware of your present. It's literally just stopping and focusing on your breathing and being present in where you are. You see, most of us are worried about the future or thinking about what we did in the past. Many of us forget that today is a gift because it's the present. We just need to focus on the presence and certain things you can do to focus on the presence. What can you do? Number one, you want to focus on the presence? Breathe and focus on when you breathe in and when you breathe out. Just focus on the breath. You want some other things that can help you focus on the here and now and presence? Go do a cold plunge. Go jump in water that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit or colder. You will be focusing on here and now. I promise you're not going to be worried about what you were worried about in the future, or you could care less about what happened to you in the past. Or if you don't have a cold plunge, take a cold shower. Or if you don't have opportunity to do that, get some cold water and literally put your face in a bowl of cold water for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or as long as you can handle it. I know it sounds crazy, but it breaks up those patterns. You could also simply just have a pattern interrupt where you recognize that you're going down a negative spiral. You're recognizing the negative thoughts that you have, and you replace those with positives. Thinking about what you think about is a positive, powerful tool. Let me say that again. Thinking about what you think about is a positive thing. And don't speak out negative words about yourself. Say positive things. I am happy. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am wise. I am balanced. I am peace. Or I know I have love. I know I have safety. Little things like that truly go a long, long way. There are many other things that you can do to help yourself with your diet, your foods, your supplements, and so many other things. I mean, we talked about the physical imbalances, the chemical imbalances, the neuroemotional imbalances. You too can have life and have it more abundantly. But I just want to encourage you all to understand that the more you live out of the natural laws, the more you live out of the natural laws that has been put on this planet for us to live by, eating well, sleeping well, breathing well, thinking well, moving well, you will be well. But really, it's completely up to you. So, folks, I hope you go back and watch this podcast again. Make sure that you like and subscribe and share this information with your friends, family, and loved ones, folks, because together we can make a huge difference. And I'm telling you, it's time for a change. And when the system of healthcare that seems too big to be challenged or too big to fail, that's when it's time to start a new one. Folks, until we meet again, I'm Dr. Eric Nepute. To yours, to your health, love and respect. See you on your next podcast. Be well. Bye.